Right now, it's National 4-H Week. One highlight for many 4-Hers across Louisiana is getting to visit Camp Grant Walker in Pollock. The nearly 100-year-old campground is surrounded by trees, which is what makes it beautiful, but also made it vulnerable to Hurricane Laura's winds. The entrance to Camp Grant Walker in Pollock, Louisiana is an inviting sight, beautifully lined with tall pine trees. But one uninvited guest recently came through and wrecked the beloved campground dating back to the 1920s. That guest, Hurricane Laura. 4-H camp director Christine Bergeron lives on the grounds, but moved from her home to a masonry brick bathhouse with her dog when Laura came through.
We had between 85 and 100 mile-per-hour winds. I think it was probably more than that. You could definitely hear the sound, that whistling. If there's any tornadoes were coming, I could hear it. And you know, it just seemed like every 2 minutes it would rise up again with the wind. And during that time, all you could hear were just snapping and cracking and just, you know, trees falling, and not just small trees. I mean, as you can see, we have very tall pine trees, and it was very scary because you're just thinking, okay, is one gonna fall on where I'm at on the structure I'm in?
A tree fell and did this to Bunkhouse 19, where more than 50 campers would stay in the summer. A tree also fell on the dance pavilion, which dates back to the 1920s. That tin on the floor is from the roof, and the supports are broken. And this cabin for staff and rentals also fell victim to a fallen tree.
It has done so much for so many of us.
Dr. Paul Miller of Ville Platte is a volunteer at Camp Grant Walker and also came here as a 4-H'er. He calls this camp an incubator for success and wants adults who came here as children to raise awareness of the current situation.
Talk about your experiences. Someone knows someone who came to 4-H camp and had a great experience, and it led to opportunities in life. It helped them find a niche. Every walk of life. I mean, as a child, I had an eye injury, and so I couldn't do athletics. I came to 4-H camp, and I was able to find things that really I was passionate about.
Patrick Tuck is passionate about raising money for the 4-H camp. He says before Hurricane Laura, the Louisiana 4-H Foundation had a $1.17 million plan to upgrade the buildings here by adding bathrooms or air conditioning. Now, there's a whole lot more to pay for.
Well, there's several of those buildings that we were going to modernize that now we're either going to have to just get new roofs, new walls. There's one bunkhouse that needs to be torn down and completely rebuilt. So as opposed to putting a bathroom on the side of a building, we're talking about a complete rebuild of a structure.
Looking at the Greek Theater back in the 1930s, while it was still under construction, you can see that much has grown around Camp Grant Walker to give to the young people who come here. Miller says now it's time for those grown-up young people to give back.
Contribute to the specific cause of rebuilding this camp and adding new functions so we can continue to attract children to grow into this family. And that's what we are, a 4-H alumni, and Camp Grant Walker, it's a family.
If you would like to help Camp Grant Walker rebuild and get a little more up to date, you can donate to the Grant Walker 4-H Education Center Support Fund. You'll find a link on our website at twilatv.org.